Dr. David Jockers here, and today we're talking about the top 12 best foods for magnesium. And so we look at magnesium, and we know that in our society we have a huge magnesium deficiency. In fact, magnesium is so key for all the electrical functions of the body. They say over 300 known functions magnesium's key for. In fact, many researchers have said magnesium is to the body what oil is to the engine of a car. We can't live without magnesium. We absolutely need magnesium. But here's the problem, that the RDA in the United States is between 310 and 420 milligrams, yet we know for optimal function, we need over 1,000 milligrams of magnesium. In fact, we know 68% of our society is not even getting 300 milligrams of magnesium. 19% aren't even getting half of that. They're not even getting 150 milligrams of magnesium. So we have a huge magnesium deficiency in our society. And here's the issue. We've got calcium and magnesium. Our ancestors had about a 2-to-1 to maybe even a 1-to-1 ratio of calcium to magnesium. In our society, because calcium is more prevalent than magnesium, we have about a 10-to-1 ratio, 10-to-1. That right there is gonna cause a lot of problems in our body. So let's jump into some of these symptoms. Number one, cramping. If you're dealing with muscle cramping on a regular basis, it's a good sign that you are magnesium deficient. We definitely want to address magnesium. So muscle cramping, uterine cramping, women that are having severe menstrual pain, they can get better using magnesium. Insomnia. So if you're having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep at night, you're most likely deficient of magnesium. And one of the things that actually reduces our magnesium levels is blood sugar imbalances. This is one of the biggest things. Stress and blood sugar imbalances deplete us of magnesium. So it's so critical to get more, not only through dietary means, but also at the same time, supplementing it can be really helpful if we have these conditions. Insomnia, chronic pain, classic with magnesium. If we're having muscle spasms and pain in our body, definitely want to address our magnesium levels. Fatigue, if you're low on energy throughout the day and you have trouble getting that natural pick-me-up with energy, most likely you're magnesium deficient. Fibromyalgia is a classic condition of magnesium deficiency, and so the nervous system is so close to threshold that it takes very, very little sensation for that individual to start to feel pain. Magnesium is so key for the gradient, the electrical gradient of every cell of the body. And so we don't have enough magnesium, we're closer to threshold, it takes less stimulus to shoot us over. I mean, that jumps us into mood disorders as well, because anxiety, for example, is classic with magnesium deficiency. We know with depression that taking magnesium regularly outperforms antidepressants when it comes to helping people improve moods. Why? Because again, they're so close to threshold, so their body's constantly burning out. So it's very, very key for that. Constipation. Really important for good muscle contractions in our digestive system to help move our bowels well. Magnesium is one of my go-to for individuals who are dealing with constipation to help get their bowels moving regularly. Numbness and tingling, very important. A lot of individuals are out there dealing with numbness and tingling. Using magnesium regularly can be a really big help for that. Heart arrhythmias. So if the heart's not beating the way at a normal, optimal pace, but instead that we're skipping beats or we're fluttering, typically related to magnesium deficiencies, because again, the heart is a muscle and the electrical gradient, if it's real close to threshold, it's going to start to spasm. An arrhythmia is like a muscle spasm of the heart. Magnesium, we need that for it. Headaches. When individuals have headaches on a regular basis, again, they're having spasms and contractions in the muscles in and around the skull. That's going to contribute, as well as the blood vessels in there, in and around the skull. That's going to contribute to it. So headaches, muscle spasms in general. And we talk about muscle spasms, not only can that cause increased amount of neck pain, lower back pain, but also we got to look at the blood vessels. So when the blood vessels are spasming, we may not always feel it as pain, or we could. Headaches are an example of muscle spasms in the blood vessels, but we may notice issues like, for example, high blood pressure. High blood pressure is classic when the tone of the blood vessels is too tight. And so the tone is too tight. We need magnesium to help relax those blood vessels to allow for good blood flow to go through, to reduce the amount of pressure in the arterioles. Poor concentration, so issues with with concentration, whether it's trying to remember something, learning in general, ADHD, sensory processing disorders, these kind of conditions that are all related with magnesium deficiencies. So I found clinically working with thousands of clients, getting them doing regular magnesium, whether it's magnesium-rich foods, which we're gonna talk about, or magnesium supplements, can be extremely beneficial for all these kinds of conditions. So let's jump into the best dietary sources. Where are we gonna get the magnesium from? Well, green leafy vegetables. You can see this, Swiss chard and spinach, two of the best. You can also get a good amount of magnesium from collard greens, kale. So these dark green leafy vegetables, all really, really good sources of magnesium. We want to use those. You can put them in juices. You can eat salads on a regular basis. Very powerful for that. Swiss chard, spinach, grass-fed dairy. So dairy can be really good if the cows are consuming grass and if you don't have a sensitivity to the dairy. So doing, whether it's grass-fed raw milk or grass-fed raw cheeses, can be a great source of magnesium. If you're more dairy sensitive, you can get some magnesium from grass-fed ghee. Ghee is a clarified butter where they've taken out the proteins as well as the lactose that some people have a sensitivity to. So the casein, the whey, the lactose is all removed. The ghee has the milk fats, which are loaded with fat-soluble antioxidants and things like C-conjugated linoleic acid and omega-3s. It also has magnesium, which can be really, really good. Again, for the body, we need that magnesium. Avocados, one of the best sources right here. Getting regular avocados, pumpkin seeds. So pumpkin seeds are a powerful form of magnesium, super good for the body. I recommend sprouted seeds. So you can get sprouted pumpkin seeds, great source of magnesium. Sea vegetables, that's gonna be things like kelp, dulse, nori. So getting in sea vegetables, or what I'll use oftentimes is Bragg's Sea Kelp Delight. So it's an herb spice that you can put on things that has kelp in it. So it's a great way to get more magnesium, more iodine, more phytonutrients that are rich in sea vegetables. So we want that. Pink salt, so Himalayan sea salt, Redmond's real salt, those volcanic ash-based salts that are naturally pink, very rich in magnesium as well as other minerals. So salting our foods well can be really good. Nuts, in particular almonds, the richest nut source of magnesium. Macadamia nuts are very good, pecans. These are great sources of getting more magnesium into the body. Dark chocolate, one of all of our favorites, right? So dark chocolate, non-processed, get it without the sugar, rich in magnesium. Fish, ideally wild caught. I like a wild caught sockeye salmon, sardines, great source of magnesium. Sprouts, broccoli sprouts, kale sprouts, great source of magnesium. And then coffee. And so, coffee is the #1 antioxidant source in America. And so when we're looking at coffee can be really bad or good depending on what we're getting. We want to make sure we're getting organic coffee, so we're not getting the pesticides and the herbicides. Very important. So using organic coffee, you're gonna get a lot better benefit from that when it comes to magnesium. And don't overdo it, because if you do too much, it can cause increased stress in your body. It's a stimulator, so it can stimulate your fight or flight system, your sympathetic nervous system, which will eat through your magnesium stores. So these are the best food sources of magnesium. And then a couple key tidbits. We wanna make sure we keep the blood sugar stable. So a lot of good fats in the diet, lots of vegetables. I recommend going grain-free, taking the grains out of the diet, keeping fruits to a moderation, so moderate amount of fruit. We don't want to overconsume it. Keeping overall carbohydrates down, loading up on good fats like coconut, avocados, olives and olive oil, grass-fed butter, ghee, different things like that. Making that a priority point. Lots of vegetables, herbs, healthy meats, grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, organic poultry. When we're doing that, and then of course using lots of herbs and fermented foods and things like sprouts and the different foods we talked about here, when we do that, we're gonna help stabilize our blood sugar. So we're gonna deplete less magnesium from our system. And then keeping stress under control. Stress depletes magnesium. So the more that we can keep stress under control, doing deep breathing, journaling, spending time in gratitude, taking time off, right? Sometimes we push so hard, we overdo our system. Taking time off, relaxing, figuring out wind down strategies, very, very critical for keeping our magnesium stores up. So Dr. Norman Shealy, an MD, PhD, one of the top medical researchers out there, he talks about how how magnesium deficiency is the #1 cause of chronic disease in our society. We talked about the causes: blood sugar imbalance, lack of consuming enough magnesium, as well as chronic stress. We talked about all the different symptoms associated with magnesium deficiencies. We talked about the best food sources that we want to be getting into our diet on a regular basis when it comes to magnesium. Start applying those foods into your diet, applying the principles we talked about, and you will see improvement with your life and your health. And we'll see you next time.